Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to this week's episode of the Wealthy Legacy Journey. Starting off, some very exciting news. Drum roll with me, please. Guess what? This is episode number 26. Woohoo! What does that mean? That means that I've been doing this for half a year, which is crazy, right? Because 52 weeks a year, I think there might have been like 1 week that I've missed in the past half year. And it's crazy because I was just telling somebody the other day about this podcast. Like when I first started it, I really had to remember to do it. It took a lot of thinking, like put stuff together. And it's gotten a lot simpler with this new structure, especially. And I'm putting notes together, but I've really gotten to figure out what I like, what I don't like, what I want it to look like, how it's going to roll and groove and all that kind of stuff. And I know there's a lot more learning and molding to do in the future. But I've done this week after week after week after week now for 26 weeks, and I've created a habit out of it. And if anything, one thing that I've learned just from doing this week after week, which I've seen in other things, is just the power of that habit. That like now recording this episode is a part of my life, a part of my week. I mean, I'm here, it's Wednesday morning, and I woke up this morning thinking about recording this episode, and there was a couple other things that I wanted to knock out, but I couldn't get this off my mind. It was something I really wanted to do. Recording these episodes every week for my kids and anybody else who listens is something that I really look forward to. And it was really cool because actually this morning I was talking with my dad about the algorithm that we're working on, and we're trying to kind of initiate a connection with a new broker who's going to be able to give us some different margin rates. And you don't need to know all the technical mumbo jumbo jabble, but he was like, I guess that means that you need me to pull my 48. Whenever I mentioned to him, like, our goals and how getting it plugged into Tradeovate versus Interactive Brokers is going to be able to help us get ahead. And it made me smile. And I was like, you listen to my episode. And he started telling me like what he got from, the analogy of the 48 and stuff. And it was like, man, like it's super cool, and I get that he's my dad, but I just hope that, he mentioned, he's like, at the end of that last episode, when you started talking specifically like to your kids and everybody listening in a very intentional way, he's like, that's impactful. And it's just exciting to me to think that I might be able to just impact people with what the Lord's teaching me, and that it would be able to overflow from my cup into y'all. So I'm very excited for episode 26 to get to half a year. Hopefully these episodes are getting a little bit better for anybody who's ventured to watch all of them and gone maybe through that the brutal path of listening to everything. But I've loved recording these and being here with you guys. And so, yeah, just huge thank you for, sticking with me for half a year. I'm excited to see what episode, from 26 on to 52 over the next half year of how more growth is experienced and all that kind of stuff. I'm also very excited. My wife, Libby, is thinking about launching her own kind of vlog style thing after, seeing what I've done this every week. But specifically on what she's learning as a mom to put out there for other mom friends who have asked her, like, how has she traversed these different things, as well as, our kids, for them to be able to see that perspective too. So, what I'm doing, encouraging other people. And, even my mom is thinking about launching not a vlog, but it would be more of like training tutorials and what she does in science to try to build up something. And it's cool. It's like you never know how the goals that you set and the things that you pursue in life are going to impact the people all around you, whether they be people very near and dear to you, like your spouse or your parents or your siblings, or just people that are kind of outside in the general sphere around you. um, and so it's been a wonderful opportunity to get to impact some people. I've gotten actually some comments from some people who are watching the episodes, and so that's kind of exciting to feel like I'm not just talking to the abyss anymore. That there's a handful of people here and there that have commented and are listening, and so I'm excited to be able to serve you guys. With that said, I guess I better move on so I don't just sit here and talk about that all day. I've got two great movies. I actually watched three great movies, and I don't know if you guys know much about my schedule, but we don't watch TV through the week. We only watch TV on the weekends. But because last weekend was Thanksgiving, that means we had an extended weekend from Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So I had lots of times to catch up on movies. And it was so relaxing. I needed it. It was good. But then afterwards, I was like, okay, I'm ready to stop watching TV and read my books and stuff again. So it was a really healthy balance in between. But There's three movies I want to talk about. One of them I'm getting some more notes on because actually I watched it and it was so good. I went back and I was like, Libby, you've got to watch this movie. So we're watching it together and I'm taking more detailed notes on it. And so I don't want to spoil the surprise on that. So I'm going to hold off on that one. Lips locked, sealed. Not going to talk about that one, but there's two other ones that are super good. One is It's a Wonderful Life. And maybe everybody here has already seen it before. I think I had seen it way back. I don't want to say way back in the day, but every time I say way back in the day, older people, or I should say old people, people who are older than me, which there are quite a few people on this earth older than me, they always make fun of me for saying back in the day. So a couple years ago for me, I don't know, maybe like probably at least 10, 15 years ago, I watched this as a little boy and so I don't really remember much about it. So there was that movie, and then there's another movie called Champions. Now, Champions, I'm just going to let you know, it's not quite as family friendly as It's a Wonderful Life. There's a little bit more worldly stuff in there, so viewer beware if you're going to go watch it. But It's a Wonderful Life is a wonderful story about a guy who basically realizes the importance and the impact and the purpose that he has in the community that he serves and he loves. And he has this huge change in perspective. And I've been working on having that change in perspective for myself because, for me, I set these massive, audacious goals. And I've been struggling with the fact that it feels like I've kind of, plateaued. And I'm really doing some healthy stuff in my life financially, going through the baby steps with Dave Ramsey and getting things right financially and, being more invested as a dad and a husband in my family. All those are wonderful things, but I'm struggling with the fact that it's like my progress towards my financial goals seems to be slow, if not even almost non-existent. Now, this week, we're actually going to implement a system that I think is really going to help. I'm going to talk about that at the end of the episode. I also want to mention Champions. So Champions is basically about, and I'm not going to, none of these are going to be like spoilers, but it's about this guy. This is how they just originally set up the plot of the movie. I think he's working with an NBA team or not. He's not quite in the NBAs. It's like the level below the NBAs. And I don't know basketball that well, but he's trying to get to become an NBA coach, but he doesn't really connect with people well. And he ended up going through a set of circumstances where he is sentenced to public service or something like that by the judge, and he ends up teaching and coaching a group of mentally handicapped adults and in basketball. And I'm not going to say anything else about it because it's a great movie. And, outside of a couple parts that I wouldn't let my kids watch, I wouldn't let my kids watch this movie, unfortunately, but it was really good. The overall, message that came from it. But from both of them, I really got this takeaway that life isn't about the destination. It's about the journey. You're living life to the fullest when you're loving those around you to the best of your abilities. Also, if we change our perspective, just like happened in It's a Wonderful Life, right? Whenever Angel comes down and he basically sees what world would be like if he didn't ever live. I think his name's George Bailey, I think, if I'm correct. And then also in Champions, kind of the perspective shift he had as he kind of went from everything was about him and his career to having to really be intentional and invest in the people that he was working with when he was working with this group of wonderful people, but they were mentally handicapped. And, I've taught junior high before. And so, I might not 100% understand his situation in that exact moment, but I do understand having to be very intentional, with people. And it's a beautiful thing. And it's something that I've lost the art of. And in that movie, both of those, George Bailey and It's a Wonderful Life had lost perspective of the importance of his role of impacting the community and how much purpose he had and what he did. And then the other guy, I forget the name of the main character, but in Champions, he just needed a change in perspective on people in general. And so both of those were good for me. Whatever, TV or movies or anything that you're ingesting, I would just recommend, especially in your own wealthy legacy journey, that it's something that's going to be fruitful for your life, right? And look for fruit in it. If you're watching movies just to numb your brain, like numbing your brain isn't going to get you anywhere further in life. So I would highly encourage you to make sure that in whatever you're watching, you're not just numbing your brain, but you are actually, learning for growth. Um, Another cool thing that happened this week is I got to read another chapter of Good to Great. I am slowly just nailing that one out. I actually took the book with me to Thanksgiving, and it was actually kind of a neat opportunity because my oldest niece asked me about what I was reading, and I got to talk to her about it a little bit, and it was kind of neat to be able to talk about the book and the importance of it. But Good to Great by Jim Collins, and in the the chapter that I read, um I read it was about creating a culture of discipline in your company. But for me specifically, I really reflected on it and I thought, what culture of discipline am I creating in my own life? And so I kind of wrote a list of like, here's what I'm doing well, and here's what I need to improve on. So for me, what I'm doing well, I'm doing my daily Bible time, and I've been doing that for I think I want to say over a year now. I don't think it's been 2 years, but definitely over a year now that I've been consistently every single day in the Bible. I'm starting to get better about journaling. And so, just continuing to improve my relationship with the Lord. And that's consistency. To have weeknight quiet times and not watching TV during the week, that's been an excellent thing. Being intentional where when I'm at home, like Andy Elliott, the way he describes it is being where your feet are. And I thought that's a great way to put it. I've been working on that without the expression, but now I have the expression to really kind of help visualize what it is. But it's like whenever my feet are at home, I'm at home with my family. When my feet are at work, like I'm 100% at work. And, so even this, like I'm here, I'm in the trailer, I am zoned in, I'm engaged to work. The Wealthy Legacy Journey is a part of what I do. And so this is just all part of the mission and the movement. Also, the financial stuff, right? I went from, this time last year, just spending like crazy. I didn't want to be restrained by a budget. I didn't like for me the budget word was the B word. Like it was a bad word. I didn't want anything to do with the word budget. And I realized in order to get ahead, I'm really gonna have to get, straight on that. And so then, sold the truck, and now the car is almost the last loan we have is for Libby's minivan, and there's only a couple $100 on it. That gets paid off in December. And usually we pay our stuff at the end of the month because we're paying over and above. So just to make sure that, in case we need any wiggle room, but we only have a few $100 left. So I'm not kidding you guys. Friday is December 1st. So by the time you guys watch this on Monday, that means that December 1st will already have passed because it'll be, I guess, by that point, the 4th or something like that, which means that I will be debt free outside of my mortgage, which I am so excited about. But that stuff didn't used to pump me up. And but man, we're close, and that is awesome because that means that, and when you look at the Dave Ramsey baby steps, step number 1 is saving 1,000. Step number 2 is paying off your debt outside the mortgage, and then step number 3 is save 3 to 6 months of a fully funded emergency fund. And that's what we're going to talk about actually next in just a moment. But what I need to improve, and this is definitely something that I need to get better at. I want to consistently work out every week. It doesn't have to be every day, but I want to get it as a consistent part of my weekly schedule. Even like with Bible time, it started off where I would do like 10 minutes a morning, then it was 15 minutes, and then it was 20, and now I'm up to about 30 minutes, and maybe I will journal. And it was just slow progression, but I started off with very, very tiny bite-sized chunks with these episodes. I started off with a quick, one episode a week. I've been contemplating putting out 2, and I don't know if people even want that much content from me. So, and I don't know what time, I have allotted in my schedule to be able to do that. So it may not ever come to fruition, but I love it now. Like I've come to really, really enjoy what I do when I record these episodes. And I thought, what if I just recorded like 2 15-minute episodes instead of 1 30-minute episode, and I made each one of them more bite-sized, but then I could also get more intentional with every moment that's going on week to week and kind of dive in a little bit deeper on some of the things. So, but it's been good to have those episodes, but I need to get better about working out, improving just my physical, which will help my mental clarity. It'll help my confidence and all that kind of stuff. And then also reading. I've been reading the books. I did really well with EntreLeadership. And then when I was trying to put the book report together, I think I killed a lot of my momentum because I made that way too complicated. I'm putting that together. And that's the problem with making overly complicated goals, is because then they become unachievable. And so now I'm trying to get back on that bandwagon and finish out Good to Great. But I really want to set, goals for around those two. And I've been thinking about what 2024 goals look like. Oh man, I think I'm just going to jump to that. So here's what Libby and I are going to do. We are actually going to, and it's going to happen probably somewhere over the next few days. I think we're going to start today and we might get through them, but we're going to create a couple poster boards. And originally we had this idea and Kendell blew it up because Kendell blows things up. And so one of them was like a savings goal. And I was like, oh, we could have like savings from, and like assets. We could basically build our assets up. We could have like 1, 2, 3, 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, all the way to 10,000, and then 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100, and then 100, 200, 300, all the way up to 1,000,000. And I was like, wow, we could have like a thermometer all the way from 1,000 to 1,000,000. We could see that growth over time. And anyways, I have a real problem of making things like way too blown up. And I just realized like what would be a lot better than that is if I had a thermometer that just went from 1 to 10,000. And then whenever I fill that thermometer up, it's like, woohoo, I finished a big goal. I can take the poster down, add it to my list, my stack of like goals accomplished. And then I could start a new goal poster that was maybe like 10,000 to 50,000 or 10,000 to 25,000 or whatever at that time. And so I can take them in more bite-sized chunks instead of just like barely doing anything and then just being like, wow, this goal is way too big. It's going to take me forever to reach, and just like, nah. Like I know what I want to do long term, but I've got to be able to get some quicker wins in my life. And so like the last 2 days, man, I've been really struggling with like just feeling really down, kind of depressed, just because I feel like everything that I want to achieve is so far out of my reach. And last night, I had a really good time with Libby. We prayed. She gave me some counsel, and it was really, really tough pill to swallow on some of the counsel that she was giving me. But basically, I've been struggling to be thankful and grateful for where I'm at in life and for the opportunities that the Lord has put in my life and for my beautiful home. And though I say these words, I know myself that I'm struggling to get it from my head to my heart, right? Where it's like I truly believe what I'm saying. I know what's the truth, but I'm struggling to get it to my heart. And I just feel like last night, like the Lord really kind of pushed that ball forward for me and helped me out. But I wanted to actually read you guys. It's funny because last night when I was doing or was it last night? This morning, I woke up and I started writing out a journal entry to the Lord. I have my Dear God letters, and so I just, Dear God, and I write it out sometimes. It really helps me get some clarity. And I was led to this verse while I was doing my Bible time. Philippians chapter 4, verses 4-9. Rejoice in the Lord always. I will say it again, rejoice. Let your gentleness be evident to all. The Lord is near. Do not be anxious about anything, but in every situation, by prayer and petition with thanksgiving, present your requests to God. And the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, I needed that part right there, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus. Finally, brothers and sisters, whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is admirable, if anything is excellent or praiseworthy, think about such things. Think about such things. Whatever you have learned or received or heard from me or seen in me, put it into practice, and the peace of God will be with you. And then there was something I read in my devotional, and it says, we are not to seek a life of comfort and security. Jesus said to his disciples, anyone who intends to come with me has to let me lead. You're not in the driver's seat. I am. Don't run from suffering. Embrace it. Follow me, and I'll show you how. Self-help is no help at all. Self-sacrifice is the way, my way, to finding yourself, your true self. What kind of deal is it to get everything you want but lose yourself? What could you ever trade your soul for? Following Jesus involves denying yourself, taking up your cross, and following him. This is the way to find life in all of its fullness. Wealth, in one sense, is utterly pointless. Purpose in life is far more important than property or possessions. All the money in the world, all the success in the world, all the fame in the world, all the power in the world is nothing if you lose your soul and miss out on what life is all about. On the other hand, if you follow Jesus and surrender your life to him, you find the purpose of life. The words of Jesus are extraordinarily powerful. There has never been a time when it's more important to listen to him than now. It was crazy because Libby and I had this conversation last night. And then this morning I read the verse, and then I went to my devotional and I read that, and it was just like boom, boom, boom. It was like, okay, like, and it's funny that I'm saying this on the wealthy legacy journey, but it's a journey, guys. Like, and this is something that I'm learning. And maybe people watching this are like, yeah, duh, Kendall, like you're over ambitious and you set stupidly high goals and whatever. I don't know. But I'm just being raw and real with you guys about where my head's at. And I'm hoping that maybe there's somebody who's walking the journey that's in a similar phase as me, and they can watch through these videos and they find it encouraging. But do I know that I'm going to grow and I'm going to do big things? Absolutely. But it's not a sprint. Like, I've been doing this for half a decade, and I've been doing it all wrong. And it's unfortunate because I want to look back and say, I wish I woulda, I wish I coulda, I really shoulda. I call them my woulda, coulda, shouldas, done this or that with whatever opportunities I'd had in the past, and look where I could be now. But it was interesting because just yesterday when I was talking with Libby, she said, stop looking at it as what you woulda, coulda, shoulda. But she said, don't look at it as, man, here's where I could be, but say, this is where I am. Look at the distance that I've traversed now. And it's hard for me because my goals are massive and I feel like I've only done this. And so when you look at this compared to this, like, it's like I've barely done anything. Right. But what I need to do is set more bite-sized goals where it's like, okay, here's my goal and here's what I've accomplished. So it's like, okay, in that aspect, like, I'm 25% of the way there to the first bite. Now, that's only one bite of the entire cake or pie or whatever, but it's a bite. And so with the thermometers, a couple that we're going to set up, I texted Libby, so let me open this up. So having, daily Bible time. And so literally creating a thermometer that has like 365 spots. And that's just going to be exciting to check that off every day. And yes, is it something I already do well? Yes. But I just want to be able to see myself accomplishing every single day. I put on there working out 2 times per week. I think that's a great, just kind of to be able to check those boxes off or fill up the thermometer. Daddy daughter dates 2 times per month, 1 book per month, finishing baby step number 2. And you know what? I finished baby step number 2 in just a couple days. But I told Libby, I want to be able to celebrate and rejoice that win because it's hard. I haven't made it tangible enough for myself to see that, come to fruition. So it feels like I'm not getting momentum. But if I could fill it up and go, wow, here's what I've done in the past, 6, 8 months, whatever it has been that we've been working on this goal of paying off all of our debt, like, that's awesome. And then also Libby really wants to set up a garden. And so she actually just stepped in just a second ago. And she wanted to look at it with me. And so after this, I'm going to go look at that with her. And that's going to be one of our goals, is to get the garden set up just absolutely beautiful. And, with all the supplies that we already have, we're not going to have to buy more stuff. We're going to figure out how do we soak up, love, and enjoy our property with what we have in the best way that we can right here, right now. And setting just bite-sized goals. And so the last thing I want to let you guys know about is there might be an adjustment to our budget, because last week I talked to you guys about what our budget would look like, and I kind of broke it all down. We'll still always have a 10% tithe because I feel like that is absolutely, absolutely important. It's what the Lord says to do, so it's what I do. I take my 10% to the storehouse every single paycheck. First 10% goes to the Lord. I dedicate that to Him. But realizing when I went back to Dave Ramsey's that baby step number 3 is a 3 to 6 month fully funded emergency fund. And I just thought, if I'm going to do this, if I'm going to really submit and say, okay, you know what, Dave Ramsey is the man, and I would love to be where Dave Ramsey is at one day, I have to really take all these steps into account and be very intentional with it. So I'm still going to a tax sale this coming Tuesday. But I've had to get creative about it and go, okay, well, if I'm going to be saving up for, 3 to 6 month fully funded emergency fund, with where we're at right now, basically we've gotten very aggressive about paying off debt. We still have cut our budget way back. And so we're going to just start dumping everything into savings. And so I think it'll take like 4 to 5 months for us to build up 3 months of of emergency fund for our budget. And so and basically that'd be us living on the minimum for 3 months, like not living life in luxury. So then after that, we would probably start investing, or not probably, we will start investing into the tax sales, but that gives us some cushion to live on. But with that said, I don't want to just not do anything over the next few months. So I'm going to really start looking at, is there some sort of partner that I can JV with? I don't want to take on debt, right? So I'm not going to go buy properties and then turn around and get a loan on them or try to get a loan on them out of the gate. But can I find a JV partner where it's like, hey, if I go purchase these at, 33 cents on the dollar, 25 cents on the dollar, whatever it might be, 20 cents on the dollar, somewhere in that range, would you JV with me? And so that way it's like they put up the cash, I do the work, and then we can still get paid. Do I get a less payout? Yes, that would be the case. But that's okay because I'm still taking steps in the right direction. So already I'm kind of mulling on it because I don't want to go, oh, okay, well, I'm just not going to do anything until I get there. Like I've already got this thing running. So it's like, how do I move forward on that, but also still commit and hold through to my goals on the baby steps. And so we might focus on the baby step more aggressively before we start investing or giving. We will actually, not a might anymore. I wrote this note before we had really talked about it. And so anyways, with what was I going to say? Oh, I have this note in here though, that the tortoise beats the hare. The tortoise beats the hare. The tortoise beats the hare. Every single time the tortoise beats a hare, right? This is going to be tough. When you read the book, The Tortoise and the Hare, the tortoise wins. And you can read that book a million times, and every single time the tortoise wins. And so how can I be a tortoise? Because today I'll be committed to being the most dedicated and interdependent tortoise there has ever been. That's written on my mirror, and I say it over and over. And I want to be a tortoise. I want to learn how to be a tortoise. My uncle name, actually, I don't know if I've mentioned this on the show yet, but my sister and brother-in-law gave me the uncle name Oogway, which means tortoise, and I was like beyond excited about it. So I'm Uncle Oogway. If you remember, there's a Master Oogway and Kung Fu Panda, and it's kind of a funny story how that all came together. But whenever I was like, well, man, Oogway means tortoise, like that's perfect. And anyways, it's like I know this is gonna be good. It's gonna be hard, but we're gonna figure it out. And one thing I want to tell you guys that like it really encouraged me this last week is going to I go play the Rich Dad Poor Dad game. And now I have the board game. It takes a little bit longer to play, so sometimes I'll just play the electronic version. But if you go to richdad.com/classic and play the game, I'm telling you guys, it's encouraging and it's helpful because in the game, I will literally do exactly what I'm doing right now, and I play the game over and over and over. And you know what? There's some times where I have to pass up on a stock that's priced at $1, and the range of that stock in the game is like $10 to $40. I know that is an amazing deal. It's an amazing, amazing deal. But I pass on it because first I pay off my debt. Well, first I have my $1,000 emergency fund in the game, and then I pay off my debt, and then I build up my 3 months of savings, and then I begin investing. So that's what I do in the game, and it works. Does it take a little bit longer going through that pattern? Yes. But every time in the game, I end up building to where it's like, okay, you've got your, if your income, if your expenses every month are like, in the game, it would be like somewhere between probably like $1,000 and $3,000, just depending on the role that you get. But let's say it's 1,000. So it's like, okay, I paid off my debt. I have $3,000 saved. Anything over and above that, I can invest. And all of a sudden, you're sitting there at like 3,000, 5,000, 7,000, somewhere in that range. You start investing, and then all of a sudden, you hit 10, 20, 30, and then all of a sudden, boom, you're up to 100, and you're just making these investments. You're buying stocks, and all of a sudden, you hit 100. Now you can start maybe buying like a condo, and then you hit like 200, 300. You can buy rental houses, and all of a sudden, you're to 500. Then you're to $1 million, and now you're buying apartment complexes, and it's like, boom, 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 boom. Everything just starts working. But this beginning part just takes time, but it works every single time. So if you guys are unsure about what I'm saying, because I'm very unsure sometimes about what I'm saying, if this is actually going to work, just go play the game. The game doesn't lie. Like it's structured just like real life. You even have in there what's called downsizes, where you lose your job for 2 months and you have to pay a month of expenses. Or no, you lose 2 turns and you lose a month of expenses. So I guess you lose your job for basically a month, and you have to pay a month of expenses out. And having that nest egg, having the $1,000 emergency fund set aside for little expenses that comes up is extremely helpful. Having the 3 months set aside once your debt's paid off to pay for that, hey, I'm out of job for a month where you have to pay that expenses, but you don't actually get a paycheck. Like, all of that comes into play and it all helps, and you see the security that you can put yourself and your family in financially. So I cannot recommend that game enough. It is a wonderful tool for me just to see the power of patience and waiting and being a tortoise. I think it would really help anybody that's listening to this that is unsure of it. That's a Robert Kiyosaki game with the Rich Dad Poor Dad, but it's awesome. So anyways, go play the game because it really helps my perspective, and I'm sure it'll help your perspective, whether you need to learn more about how to be more, proficient about investing, whether you need to learn more about how to be more proficient with your saving, whatever it might be. Like, please, if you took the time to listen to this video, please take the time to go play that game, because I'm telling you, it'll make a difference. Whether you have the board game, the electronic game, you can play a lot faster on the computer. But then there's a board game. I also created this that I might upload to everybody. There's actually a newer version of this, but I created my own ledger system for the game, so I don't have to count the cash, because I think this goes faster. And so, like, you can put your income, you have like your doodad and your expenses, your deposits, your debits, and all that kind of stuff, and you keep your tally. I like it more than counting out the cash, just because it's a little bit faster for the math. And I don't think I have that out there, but I might just post it out there. I literally just created it in a Google sheet, and it's like the perfect size of a piece of paper, and I just print out a whole bunch of copies. But anyways, it was awesome hanging out with you guys. Go play the game, go watch some good movies, and go get some meat from the Word. Like, if you haven't gotten some like goodness from the Word of the Lord recently, like, just go get some goodness from the Word of the Lord. And then for this week, be like me, be an Oogway, be a tortoise. Don't be like old me, who is the hair bouncing all over the place, because that's not going to get you anywhere. So with that said, it's been awesome hanging out with you guys. Kendell again with Wealthy Legacy Journey, and this is another week and another episode dedicated to you and your own personal wealthy legacy journey. I'll see you guys next week.